My name is Brooklyn Carter, and I'm 33 years old. 8 months ago, when I lost my job, my parents looked me straight in the eye and told me there was no room for me in their 5-bedroom house. Not just no, room in the metaphorical. Since they literally changed the locks while I was at a job interview and left my suitcases on the porch like I was some stranger they'd rented a room to today. Those same parents are demanding the keys to my house, the one I bought with my own hard-earned money, because apparently my older brother deserves it more. Last week, while I was at work, they broke into my home without permission. When I checked my security camera footage, there they were, my own family, wandering through my living room like they owned the place. My dad was scribbling on a yellow notepad, my mom was whispering in the hallway, and my brother was measuring the second bedroom, muttering how this would be perfect for the kids. I didn't know it then, but that moment was just the opening shot in a war I never asked for. If you're watching this, please hit like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I want to hear where you're watching from, and if you've ever faced something similar, because this story isn't just about family, it's about survival. Just a few months ago, my life looked completely different. I worked at a mid-sized design agency in Austin, Texas. Nothing flashy, but I loved it. The pay was steady, the team was creative, and for 6 years I thought I'd built a stable future. Then, one random Friday afternoon, an email popped into my inbox with the subject line, "Important company announcement." I clicked it and froze. Effective immediately, Carter & Chase Design will be permanently closing its doors. All employees are terminated. Thank you for your service. No meeting. No severance. No warning. Just like that, everything I'd worked for was gone. I stared at my computer screen in disbelief, rereading the words while my coworkers slowly realized what was happening. Some cried, some cursed, others just sat in stunned silence. I did the math in my head. My savings would cover 2 months of bills at best, maybe 3 if I cut back on everything. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas. It wasn't enough, but I wasn't panicking yet. I had my portfolio, experience, and good references. Surely I could land another job quickly? I was wrong. Every interview ended in rejection. Every "we'll be in touch" turned into silence. Austin's design market was oversaturated, and layoffs had hit multiple firms at once. Jobs were disappearing faster than I could apply for them. By the end of the 3rd week, I was desperate. That's when I swallowed my pride and called my parents. I still remember the exact moment. It was late. My apartment was dark except for the glow of my phone screen. I hit call and waited, praying my mom would answer. "Brooklyn, honey," Mom said cheerfully, as if we'd just spoken yesterday. We hadn't spoken in weeks. "Hey, Mom, listen. I hate to ask, but things are really bad right now. My job's gone, and I'm struggling to cover rent. Could I stay with you guys for a few weeks? Just until I find something." There was a long, awkward silence. Then she said, "Oh, sweetheart, you know we'd love to help, but we just don't have the space." I blinked, confused. "Mom, you have 5 bedrooms. It's just you and Dad now." "Well, your brother Mark and the kids need somewhere to stay when they visit," she replied, like that explained everything. Mark lived 15 minutes away. His visits were Sunday dinners, not extended vacations. "Okay, what about the basement? I'll sleep on the couch." "Anything?" "That's Mark's man cave when he comes over. You understand, right? Family has to think about the future." The irony burned in my chest. I was family too, wasn't I? I laughed bitterly. "Right. Family first." 2 days later, while at yet another job interview, my phone buzzed with a call from my landlord. I ignored it, thinking it wasn't urgent. When I got home, I found a locksmith changing my apartment locks. "What's going on?" I asked, panicking. "Oh, didn't you move out already?" he said, looking confused. "Your parents called me earlier. Said you'd already relocated and asked me to change the locks." My heart stopped. My own parents had accelerated my eviction without even telling me. Mini hook. I thought they were joking until they changed the locks while I was at a job interview. I begged my landlord to let me back in. He refused. He'd already rented the unit to someone else and assumed I'd left voluntarily. My parents had signed papers on my behalf, claiming to be helping me with the move. With nowhere to go, I packed everything I could fit into my beat-up 2007 SUV, clothes, a few dishes, my laptop, and one interview outfit. That was it. That night, I parked in a Walmart lot and stared at the roof of my car, trembling. How had my life fallen apart this fast? Living in your car teaches you things no one should have to know. How to shower at a 24-hour gym at 5 in the morning, slipping in when it's least crowded. How to make a single jar of peanut butter last an entire week. How to park at different Walmarts each night so security won't notice you've been living there. I worked 3 part-time jobs just to stay afloat. Morning shifts at a local coffee shop. Afternoon data entry for a small temp agency. Weekend retail at a discount store, 60 hours a week. And still barely surviving. My diet became instant noodles, peanut butter, and cheap rice. I sold anything valuable I owned except for my laptop and my one decent blazer for interviews. And through all of it, radio silence from my family. The only message I got was from Sarah, my sister, who occasionally texted to ask, "Have you found a real job yet? Kevin just got promoted again." Like rubbing salt in an open wound, as winter crept in, the nights grew brutally cold. Then, one morning, my car's heater gave out completely. I woke up shivering so hard my teeth hurt. My breath formed white clouds inside the SUV. I layered every piece of clothing I owned, but it wasn't enough. Mini hook. I kept telling myself this was temporary, until the winter came and my car's heater died. On a particularly freezing January morning, my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, thinking it was another scam call, but something made me answer. "Ms. Carter? This is Peterson & Associates law firm. I'm calling about your grandmother Eleanor's estate." I sat up straight. My grandmother had passed away 2 weeks earlier, something my parents never even told me about. The attorney continued, "Your grandmother left you $30,000 along with a personal note." My throat tightened. "Can you read it to me?" There was a pause. Then he read her words aloud. "For my independent granddaughter. Build something they can never take away." Tears burned my eyes. I hadn't even known she'd been thinking of me, let alone planning something like this. That inheritance, combined with my savings, was just enough for a down payment on a small, modest house. A real home. A place that was mine. Cliffhanger. I had no idea those words would become my shield in a war against my own blood. I didn't waste a single day. With my grandmother's $30,000 and the small savings I'd scraped together from those endless part-time jobs, I contacted a realtor and started house hunting. I wasn't looking for anything fancy. Just a safe, quiet neighborhood where I could finally breathe without worrying about someone banging on my car window at 3 a.m., telling me to move along. After 2 weeks of searching, I found the one, a 2-bedroom bungalow on the edge of Austin. It wasn't big, just under 100 square feet, built in the late 70s. The paint was peeling in places, the kitchen cabinets were outdated, and the yard needed work. But it had good bones and, more importantly, a working furnace. When the realtor handed me the keys on closing day, I couldn't hold back the tears. I unlocked the door, stepped inside, and just stood there, staring at the empty living room. This was mine, my own space. No landlord, no parents, no one deciding whether I could stay or go. I slept on an air mattress that night. No furniture, no curtains, just me and 4 walls that didn't feel like they could be taken away. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, a ridiculous smile on my face despite my exhaustion. For the first time in almost a year, I wasn't worried about being kicked out or shamed for needing help. I was home. The next morning, I snapped a quick picture of my keys resting on the kitchen counter and posted it on social media with the caption, "New Chapter." I didn't think much of it. I barely use social media these days. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up. Messages, missed calls, notifications. Mom, "Oh, honey, congratulations. When can we come see it?" Dad, "So proud of you, sweetheart. Send us the address." Sarah, "OMG, how did you afford this?" Kevin and I should visit soon. Mark, "Nice place." Kids would love to see Aunt Brooklyn's new house. 8 months of complete silence while I was living out of my car, and suddenly everyone couldn't wait to reconnect. At first, I wanted to believe they were genuinely happy for me. Maybe this house, this accomplishment, would finally make me worthy of being treated like part of the family again. I had no idea their sudden interest had nothing to do with love or pride. Mini hook. I thought they were proud of me. I didn't realize they were scouting their next target. I invited them over for dinner the following Sunday. I spent my last $100 on groceries, determined to make Mom's favorite pot roast recipe. I didn't have real plates yet, so I used paper ones, arranging them neatly to make things feel special. They arrived 40 minutes late, bustling in like royalty visiting a peasant's cottage. I forced a smile, hoping the night would go smoothly. Mom's first words as she stepped through the door weren't, "Congratulations," or "I'm so proud of you." They were, "Oh, Brooklyn, this is way too big for just one person." Her tone wasn't admiration. It was accusation. As I gave them a quick tour, Mark kept measuring rooms with his eyes, making comments like, "This second bedroom would be perfect for the kids' toys." His wife, Jenna, chimed in about how the school district here is so much better than ours. Meanwhile, Sarah trailed behind, criticizing everything: the dated kitchen tiles, the small bathroom, the lack of central air, all while asking invasive questions about my mortgage. "So, how much did Grandma leave you exactly?" she asked, running her finger along my countertop as if checking for dust. "Enough for the down payment," I replied curtly, keeping it vague. Dad wandered around, tapping the walls. "Good bones," he said approvingly. "With some renovations, this place could double in value. Mark, you should see the basement. It'd be perfect for your workout equipment." "Dad," I said sharply, "Mark has his own house." Mark shrugged. "Yeah, but it's getting crowded with the kids. This would be ideal for a home office." For 3 hours, they discussed my house as if I wasn't there. As they were leaving, Mark made a joke that wasn't really a joke. "Hey, if you ever get tired of maintaining this place, we could always swap. Kids need a safe neighborhood like this." Everyone laughed. I didn't. 2 days later, I installed a security system. At the time, I told myself it was just for peace of mind. Over the next few weeks, their visits escalated. Mark left his kids' bikes in my garage temporarily. Sarah stored boxes in my basement just for a few days, which turned into weeks. Mom and Dad showed up unannounced to check on things, letting themselves into my backyard when I wasn't home. At every family gathering, the comments grew bolder. "Brooklyn doesn't even have a boyfriend. Why does she need 2 bedrooms? One person in a family-sized house, it just doesn't seem fair. Mark's kids deserve to grow up in a place like that." Their words were starting to sound less like casual remarks and more like a carefully orchestrated campaign. I kept brushing it off, telling myself I was imagining things, until one day, I came home early from work and walked into my kitchen and saw my mother standing there with my house keys making copies. "Mom," I said slowly, "what are you doing?" "Oh, just making spares in case of emergency," she said casually. "You should have given us copies already." "I don't want anyone having copies." Her face fell like I'd slapped her. "We're your parents. What if something happens to you? Then you can call a locksmith," I replied coldly. The look she gave me sent a chill down my spine. This wasn't about safety. It wasn't about love. Cliffhanger. The day I caught my mother copying my keys was the day I realized this wasn't just meddling. It was a takeover. The moment I caught my mom copying my keys, something inside me shifted. This wasn't just a pushy family overstepping boundaries. This was a hostile takeover in the making. The very next morning, I called a local security company and had them install a top-of-the-line security system. I didn't just want cameras. I wanted hidden cameras, backup recordings, and alerts sent directly to my phone. The technician explained everything as he worked. "This system even keeps recording if the power goes out or if someone tries to cut the lines," he said. "That's perfect," I told him. I didn't admit the real reason I wanted it. I didn't trust my own family not to cross a line. By the time he left, there were cameras tucked discreetly into my smoke detector, my front porch light, and even the motion sensors inside my home. If anyone set foot in my house without my permission, I'd know. And something told me I'd need that proof sooner than I realized. 3 days later, my doorbell rang in the middle of a quiet Saturday morning. When I opened the door, my parents were standing there with Mark right behind them, each holding a manila folder. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a casual visit. Mom swept past me like she owned the place. "Brooklyn, we've been talking," she said sweetly, settling on my couch. "This arrangement, you here all alone, isn't working for anyone. So we came up with a plan that benefits the whole family." Dad opened his folder, revealing printed Zillow estimates and floor plans. "We've mapped it all out. You move back in with us. We've cleared out the basement just for you. Mark will take over this house, and everyone wins." I stared at him. "Wins? How does me losing my home count as a win?" Dad's tone sharpened. "Not losing, transferring. Mark would assume the mortgage. You'd be free of the financial burden." Mom nodded, her voice honeyed but firm. "You don't need all this space, Brooklyn. You're single, no kids, and this neighborhood is perfect for Mark's children. It's the right thing to do." I crossed my arms. The right thing for who? Because it sure isn't for me. Mark jumped in, trying to sound reasonable. Think of it like passing the torch. You'll have security living with mom and dad, and my kids will have a proper home. I looked each of them in the eye and said, calm and clear, this is my house. I'm not going anywhere. And Mark, you can buy your own. The room went still. Mark's jaw tightened, Dad's face reddened, and Mom clutched her folder like it was a lifeline. You're making a huge mistake, Dad warned. No, I said, my voice like ice. The mistake was thinking I'd ever let you take what I fought so hard for. The next day, the text messages started. At first, it was subtle, little reminders about family unity and thinking of the kids. Then Sarah joined in, and it got worse. She began sending me pictures of Mark's kids sitting on their beds, looking sad. Captions like, they deserve more space than this. It's heartbreaking knowing they could have such a better life in your house. Soon there was a family group chat ambush. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years chimed in, accusing me of being selfish and cruel. Aunt Nancy, family property should benefit everyone. Uncle Ron, seems like you've forgotten where you came from, Brooklyn. Even my sweet cousin Emma texted, maybe there's a compromise. Mark really does need this. I realized Sarah had been feeding them a narrative, painting me as the greedy, single aunt hoarding resources while poor Mark's family suffered. The pressure was suffocating, but I didn't cave. Mini hook. The guilt campaign was brutal, but I didn't break. That's when they decided to stop asking. One Thursday evening, I came home from work earlier than usual. At first glance, nothing seemed wrong. The front door was locked, the lights were off, everything quiet. But as I stepped inside, a strange unease crept over me. My shoes weren't where I'd left them. Papers on my desk had been moved ever so slightly. My bedroom closet door was open, though I always kept it closed. And then I saw it. The spare bedroom, the one I used as a home office, looked completely different. My desk was shoved against the wall. An air mattress had been inflated in the middle of the room. Children's toys were scattered across the floor. It looked like someone had started moving in. My stomach dropped. I bolted to my laptop and pulled up the hidden camera footage. What I saw made my blood run cold. There was Mark, unlocking my door with a freshly cut key. Sarah stood outside acting as lookout. My parents followed behind, carrying boxes. On the recording, Mom's voice was clear. Once we get Mark moved in, there's nothing she can do. Possession is 9/10 of the law. I sat frozen for a moment, then grabbed my phone and dialed 911. When the police arrived, I showed them the footage. 2 officers stood in my living room, watching my family invade my home on the screen. Ma'am, Officer Martinez said, turning to me. Do you want to press charges? For a second, I hesitated. They were my family. But then I looked around at my violated space, at the toys that weren't mine, at the key Mark had used. Yes, I said firmly. Yes, I do, the officers nodded. They took statements, bagged the extra key as evidence, and assured me they'd follow up with a formal report. As they were leaving, Mark's SUV pulled up outside. The moment he saw the police cars, he tried to reverse out of the driveway. Officer Martinez's partner flagged him down. Mark jumped out, all false charm. Hey, officers! I'm just here to check on my sister. With a key? I held up the evidence bag. I changed my locks last week. This isn't yours, his smile faltered. The officers exchanged looks. This is a family matter, Mark snapped. No, Officer Martinez said evenly. Breaking and entering is a crime. Cliffhanger. I thought the police showing up would scare them off. I didn't know it was just the beginning. I thought pressing charges would finally make them back off. For a few days, it even seemed like it worked. The group text went silent. Sarah stopped sending me guilt-ridden photos of her kids, and my parents stayed away. But the silence didn't last. 1 week later, a thick envelope arrived in my mailbox. The return address read, Law Offices of Harper & Stein. My heart sank as I tore it open. Inside were legal documents claiming that my house was a family asset because the down payment had come from Grandma Eleanor's inheritance. They weren't even pretending anymore. The letter demanded I transfer occupancy to Mark immediately for the benefit of the next generation. I crumpled the papers in my fists, shaking with rage. Grandma had left that money to me alone. She'd written me a note encouraging me to build something no one could take away. And now they were trying to use her gift as ammunition to steal the very thing she wanted me to have. I called James, my old college friend who worked as a property lawyer. The moment I finished explaining, he didn't even hesitate. Brooklyn, they don't have a case. he said, his tone calm but firm. "But that doesn't mean they won't try to make your life hell. You need to document everything." "Everything?" I asked. "Every visit, every text, every voicemail. Save the police report, the security footage, even the messages from extended family." James sighed. "They're trying to overwhelm you so you'll cave. The best defense is airtight evidence." 2 days later, James called me again. "Quick question," he said. "Isn't your grandfather's birthday coming up?" "Yeah," I said slowly. "He's turning 85. The whole family's throwing this big party at the Marriott downtown." James groaned. "That's it? That's where they'll make their move?" "What do you mean?" "They'll use the party as a public stage. Announce some grand family decision in front of everyone. Make it seem like you've already agreed to give Mark the house. That way, if you resist, you'll look like the selfish bad guy." My stomach twisted. "They wouldn't dare—" "Oh, they would," James interrupted. "Trust me, I've seen this tactic before. It's manipulation, pure and simple." He was silent for a beat, then added, "You need to be ready. And so do I. I'll make a reservation that night at the hotel restaurant. Close enough to jump in if things go sideways." After we hung up, I sat staring at the invitation card I'd just received in the mail. Elegant cursive lettering on heavy cream paper. At the bottom, someone had handwritten a note. "Family announcements to be made." James was right. This wasn't just a birthday party. It was an ambush. Mini hook. He was right. The invitation even said, "Family announcements to be made." The week leading up to the party, I turned my living room into a war room. Every piece of evidence went into carefully labeled folders, screenshots of harassment texts and group chat messages, video clips of the break-in from my hidden cameras, the police report documenting the charges, copies of Grandma Eleanor's will, highlighting the clause that left everything solely to me. I backed up all the files to 3 different cloud services and a physical hard drive that I stored in my bank's safety deposit box. If they tried to destroy one copy, I'd still have the others. James coached me through mock confrontations over the phone, playing the role of my father or Sarah. He reminded me to stay calm, speak clearly, and let the evidence do the talking. I practiced in the mirror until I could say the words without my voice shaking. "This is my house. I bought it legally. You have no claim to it." On the night before the party, I stood in the middle of my home and looked around. It wasn't just drywall and furniture. It was my freedom, my survival, and I would fight like hell to protect it. The morning of the party, I woke up to a text from Sarah. "Hope you're ready to do the right thing tonight. The whole family's counting on you." The audacity of it made me laugh. They still thought they were in control. I stared at the blinking cursor for a moment, then typed back a single word. "Ready." I hit send and set my phone down. They thought I meant ready to hand over my house. But they had no idea what I was really prepared to do. Cliffhanger. I texted back one word, "Ready." But they had no idea what I was really ready for. The Marriott ballroom was decked out like something out of a luxury wedding. Gold tablecloth shimmered under chandeliers. Crystal glasses sparkled on every table, and a massive tiered cake stood on a pedestal near the stage. I walked in wearing my most professional outfit. A navy dress and blazer, with Grandma Eleanor's pearl necklace around my neck. It wasn't just jewelry. It was armor. As I scanned the room, I spotted dozens of familiar faces. Cousins, uncles, aunts, family friends, even some of my dad's golf buddies. And then I saw my seat assignment. Front and center at the main family table, right between my parents, with Mark directly across from me and Sarah at his side. My heart thudded. I was almost never seated up front. Usually, I was tucked away at a back table with the leftover cousins. This confirmed James's theory. They were planning something big. As I sat down, my mom gave me a syrupy smile. "You look beautiful tonight, Brooklyn. This is such a special evening for the whole family." Her tone was just a little too sweet. Her eyes just a little too sharp. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw James at a nearby table, pretending to chat casually with another guest. He caught my gaze and gave a tiny nod. The stage was set. Dinner went smoothly at first. We made small talk, ate surf and turf, and listened to a few heartfelt speeches about Grandpa's 85th birthday. Then, as dessert plates were cleared, Dad stood up, tapping his champagne glass for attention. The room fell silent. Even the servers paused mid-step. Dad beamed like a politician about to unveil a new campaign. "Before we toast my father," he began, "I want to make a very special announcement about our family's future. My stomach tightened, but I kept my face neutral. Mom rose beside him, practically glowing. "As you all know," she said warmly, "family means everything to us. Tonight, we celebrate not only my wonderful father-in-law's birthday, but also a beautiful act of generosity." Mark's lips twitched in a practiced display of humility. Sarah discreetly lifted her phone, ready to capture the big moment, and then Dad dropped the bombshell. "We are proud to announce," he declared, "that our daughter Brooklyn has decided to gift her house to her brother Mark and his family, ensuring that Eleanor's legacy continues to benefit the next generation." The crowd erupted in applause. People gasped, clapped, even stood to cheer. Mark shot to his feet, feigning shock. "Brooklyn, I don't even know what to say. This is so generous." Sarah dabbed fake tears from her eyes. "This is what true family love looks like." Aunts and uncles shouted congratulations. My cousins beamed. Someone yelled, "Speech! Speech!" Mom leaned toward me, whispering, "Just smile and nod, dear." "Don't make a scene." I rose slowly, heart pounding. All eyes were on me. Minnie Hook. They thought they had trapped me. They didn't see the trap I had set for them. I accepted the microphone, smiling just enough to keep them guessing. "I do have something to say," I began, my voice steady. The room hushed. "Yes, family helps family. That's what we've always said, right?" "Exactly," Mom said brightly, eager to play along. I tilted my head. "Interesting, because 8 months ago, when I lost my job and asked to stay in your 5-bedroom house, there was no room for me, even though 2 of those bedrooms were empty." A ripple of confusion moved through the crowd. Uncle Ron frowned. Cousin Emma whispered to her husband, "But now," I continued, "suddenly there's room for Mark's family in my home." Dad stepped forward, trying to grab the microphone. I sidestepped him smoothly. "You all deserve the truth," I said, lifting my hand toward the back of the room. The ballroom's projector screen flickered on, revealing a paused video feed. "This," I announced, "is from my home security system. Dated 2 weeks ago, the video rolled." Gasps echoed as everyone saw Mark using a copied key to unlock my front door, Sarah standing watch outside, and my parents hauling boxes inside. Then Mom's voice rang out clearly. "Once we get Mark moved in, there's nothing Brooklyn can do. Possession is 9/10 of the law." The room exploded with shocked murmurs. "That's breaking and entering," someone whispered loudly. I didn't stop. I clicked to the next slide. Screenshots of harassing texts and group chat messages, displayed in giant clarity for everyone to read. Cousins shifted uncomfortably as their own words accusing me of selfishness appeared on screen. "And here," I said, holding up a folder, "is the police report documenting the charges I filed." I laid out the certified copy of Grandma Eleanor's will on the table. This proves she left her money solely to me. No one else. The applause from before had vanished. Now there was only stunned silence. Grandpa wheeled himself forward, his voice trembling but strong. "Robert," he said to my father, "you told me Brooklyn offered the house freely." "You lied to me?" Dad stammered. "Dad, I can explain." "No!" Grandpa snapped. "You don't get to explain. You manipulated and stole." The room descended into chaos. James stepped forward, his presence commanding. "Good evening, everyone. I'm James Patterson, Brooklyn's attorney." He placed a stack of documents on the table. "These are cease and desist orders for harassment and attempted fraud. If these are not signed tonight, we will proceed with full criminal charges. Breaking and entering, conspiracy to commit theft, and coercion." Dad sputtered. "This is a family matter." "Crimes don't become legal just because they're committed by family," James replied smoothly. Mark's wife Jenna stood abruptly, grabbing her purse. "This is insane, Mark. I told you this was wrong." She gathered their kids and stormed out, leaving Mark gaping. Sarah's husband, Kevin, looked pale. "You told me Brooklyn agreed to this?" he said, voice shaking. Sarah reached for him. "Kevin, please." "No," Kevin said firmly. "I'm done. My lawyer will be contacting you." He walked out without looking back. Mom tried to grab my hand, crying now. "Brooklyn, please, we're still family." James blocked her path. "No contact means no contact." As signatures were collected and the reality of their downfall sank in, I stood silently, letting the truth speak louder than any speech ever could. Grandpa signed as a witness, his face solemn. When he finished, he turned to me and nodded. "I'm proud of you, Brooklyn." The final toast was a quiet, awkward affair. No applause. No congratulations. As the cake was cut, my parents sat pale and defeated, Mark's chair stood empty, and Sarah sobbed quietly in the corner. Cliffhanger. By the time the cake was cut, my family was in ruins, and I was finally free. The days following the party were nothing short of nuclear. By Monday morning, word of what had happened had spread through every circle my parents had ever been part of. Their carefully crafted image of the perfect family shattered overnight. Mom's church friends stopped inviting her to luncheons. Dad's golf buddies suddenly had full foursomes every weekend. Even their neighbors started avoiding them, whispering behind closed doors. 3 weeks later, I received a certified letter in the mail. They were selling their house and moving 2 states away to escape the embarrassment. At the end of the letter, they had the nerve to write, "Please reconsider for the sake of family." I didn't respond. Some bridges once burned should stay ash. Mark's downfall was just as swift. His boss, who had been at the party that night, placed him on administrative leave the very next day. In the financial world, reputation is everything. Once the story got out, no one wanted to trust a man who had tried to steal his own sister's house. Within 2 weeks, he was quietly terminated, his career in ruins. Mark's wife, Jenna, filed for divorce almost immediately. She took the kids and moved in with her parents, telling Mark she was done enabling his family's toxicity. He went from a man with a home and family to a single dad in a dingy apartment with supervised visitation. Sarah's implosion was the messiest of all. Kevin, her husband, had been documenting everything for months. Every text where Sarah bragged about manipulating me, every conversation where she plotted with mom and dad, he had it all. When she tried to fight him in court, the evidence came out like wildfire. She lost primary custody of her kids, got minimal alimony, and was forced to move back in with my parents before they left town. The irony was bitter and poetic. She ended up exactly where she thought I should have been, dependent and powerless. The family group chat went silent after that. No more accusations. No more guilt trips, just nothing. The silence was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. While my family crumbled, my life finally began to heal. Grandpa, who had witnessed everything firsthand, cut my parents, Mark and Sarah, completely out of his will. "Fool me once," he told me with a dry smile, "but never twice." He started visiting me regularly, often spending Sunday afternoons at my house. He'd sit in my backyard with a cup of tea, watching the garden I'd planted bloom, and say, "This is what Eleanor wanted for you." Mark's kids, Lily and James, became a bright spot in my life. Jenna brought them over often, and we slowly built a bond. They'd do homework at my kitchen table, play in the yard, and sometimes sleep over in the very bedroom Mark had once tried to steal for them. One afternoon, 10-year-old James looked up at me and asked, "Aunt Brooklyn, Dad said you stole our house." But Mom showed us the papers. It was never ours, was it? I knelt beside him and said gently, "No, sweetheart. It was never yours. Your dad was just confused." James nodded thoughtfully, then said, "Dad lies a lot. Lily, now 14, was even more direct. I saw the videos from the party," she confessed one day. "Someone shared them in the family chat before it got deleted. I'm sorry for what they did to you." Her words hit me harder than any apology from my parents ever could. We hugged, and for the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I'd salvage the next generation. Meanwhile, my house became more than just a building. It was my sanctuary, a symbol of survival and independence. I painted the walls, replaced the old cabinets, and turned the second bedroom into a home office where I ran a growing freelance accounting business. Every corner of that house was a reminder. I'd fought for this. I'd earned this. No one could take it away again. One evening, I sat on my porch, watching the sun set over my quiet street. The chaos was finally behind me, and for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayals, the lies, the heartbreak. My family had tried to destroy me, but in the end, they'd only revealed who they truly were. People often ask me if I've forgiven them. The truth is complicated. Forgiveness isn't reconciliation. I forgive them for my own peace, not for their comfort. But forgiving someone doesn't mean you ever have to let them back into your life. Some relatives stayed in touch. Grandpa, Jenna, the kids, a few cousins who had apologized sincerely. Everyone else? My boundaries are locked as tight as my front door. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool evening air on my face, and finally understood what Grandma Eleanor had meant in her note. Build something they can never take away. My home wasn't just a house. It was proof that I could survive without their approval, thrive without their support, and rise above their attempts to tear me down. As I looked at the warm light glowing from my living room windows, I whispered to myself, Family doesn't make you homeless and then demand your home. Family doesn't break in and steal. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into.